the share screen, maybe.
Speaker. Screen. Wait, kat mana Got it. Share screen.
Share
Bukan,
screen.
share screen dah saya share my screen kan. Nak tukar background. Where can I actually change it?
Oh, tukar background ini. Video. Klik yang gambar video itu, yang kemudian pilih choose virtual background.
Video setting is it?
Ya,
Okay, so saya tukar background. So
ya.
kita pakai none. Okay, right. Video effect. Blur. Yalah, none lah Okay, close. So let me share my video. Okay, now you see my office.
Oh, dikira libur Jumat.
Tak boleh lah Pak. Kerja kan. Kalau Universiti Kamaruddin Malaysia boleh. Tapi ni
Oh,
Universiti Teknologi Mara, you have to work.
oh, oke.
Okay.
Baik. Tak kena banjir di sana?
Oh, Alhamdulillah tak.
Oh,
Semuanya,
tak ya.
yeah. I think part of Selangor, yes. Tapi not my part of place lah. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, alhamdulillah.
Di Surabaya sekarang musim hujan atau panas seperti biasa?
Oh, so hot.
Oh, panas. Shah Alam, I think,
Very
okay,
hot.
pagi would be okay, but petang, it would be raining cats and dogs.
Nah, itu airnya jadi hangat. Very hot. Sudah siap dokter. Itu Bu Dini itu Dokter Linda. Bu Dini sama Bu Enda itu menyapa Anda.
Sehat.
Lama tak jumpa kan?
Iya.
Sehat, Bu.
Oh, sehat. Semakin montel.
Sama.
Saya tension makan. Makan tension. Habis tu macam mana? So kita makan je lah
Monggo.
Oke, silakan.
Silakan Mas Kris. We can start the class.
Baik, terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning to all the participants. Welcome to guest lecture 2023. First, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Christian Abraham Putra from the Information System Study Program of Universitas Airlangga. I'm your Master of Ceremony for the class today. The lecture will be continued by our special speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Norhaslinda Kamaruddin from UITM, Malaysia. And today, she will be lecturing us about the affective computing. And after the lecture, there will be a Q&A session for all the participants to ask questions about the topic. And after that, there will be a photo session together with our speaker. So please prepare your best smile. And at the end of the class, there will be a presence and feedback form for all the participants. And all the participants must fill the form to get the e-certificate that will be sent directly to your email. Before going into the lecture, first, allow me to introduce our speaker through her CV. Professor Dr. Norhaslinda holds the post of Associate Professor in the Faculty of Computer and Mathematical Science, University Teknologi Mara UITM Malaysia. She has served UITM since 2011 till now. She was also an adjunct professor in the Faculty of Fulbright Malaysian Visiting Scholar Award granted by U.S. Department of State in University of Nevada. She's responsible for conducting teaching for graduate students for the course entitled Effective Computing in Special Topic. And she is also involved in research and knowledge sharing. She received her bachelor's degree in information technology and computer science from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, followed by her Master of Software Engineering from University Malaya in 2006. And in 2013, she was awarded a Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Engineering from Nanyang Technological University or NTU Singapore. NTU has been named the world's 12th best university in the world QS ranking 2022. And I think that's enough for the biography of Professor Dr. Norhaslinda Kamaruddin. And now let's begin our lecture. Good morning, Dr. Norhaslinda.
Good morning.
Are you ready for the lecture today?
Yeah, let's do it and get it done with.
Okay. Time and place is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremony. So let me share basically my slides so that we can start. Let me know if you can see the slide, yeah?
Yeah, I can see yourself.
Okay. Let me run this. Right. So basically today I am being entrusted to actually share a little bit of knowledge on affective computing. Before we further our discussion, I'm not saying that I'm giving lecture. Please interrupt me if you do have any question, and rather than waiting at the end of the sharing session, so that we can actually discuss better. So that's why I said this is not a lecture session. It's more like a sharing session on whatever knowledge that I have on affective computing. So basically, I've done this from my PhD days in NTU, Nanyang Technological University. So at that particular moment, affective computing is not popular at all. People are questioning, what is affective computing? Why do you want to include emotion in research? You are doing computer science, suppose. And in fact, my PhD is from engineering school of engineering. So the question is, engineering and emotion doesn't really mingle, because engineering is supposed to be step by step. It's supposed to be very straightforward. It's supposed to be no emotional impact to the research. But here I am trying to do something multidisciplinary, getting the input from the psychological part, and we are trying to have some kind of measurement empirically using EEG. So we are going to discuss about how we are going to collect the data, and then from the data, what is going to tell us the information. Things that previously it is weird to do. But now everybody is talking about affective computing. Everybody is trying to incorporate emotion in the research, because why? Human is emotional being. And because of that, we need to understand emotion. And how are we going to understand emotion? This is from where the emotion input that we get. We can get emotion from speech. That is my PhD actually. From speech, regardless what you see. So I don't care about the semantic of your word, but I care about the emotion, the underlying information behind the speech that you talk. For example, when you say please and when you say please, it's two different tonation. It gives you two different meaning, but the word is still the same, please. And because of that, this is what we are going to discuss today. But today I'm going to focus more on the EEG from the brain signal. EEG is electroencephalogram. So we are going to talk more about that. But before we talk more about that, I'm going to talk more about brain. Why we need to talk more about brain? Because that is the center of our human being. Because brain is actually the one that controls everything. It controls how you behave, it controls how you move your hand, it controls how the blood circulation and so on. So the biggest question today that I have, the first question is, when will your brain stop working? So basically we said that, oh, when you date, your brain will stop working. But it may not be the case. It depends also what do you mean by brain dead. For example, when you have a very massive accident and your body is still functioning, but part of your brain just doesn't work anymore. Does that means you are dying? It may not though. So because of that, so let us see this short video saying that, answering the question, when will your brain stop working? First and foremost, I would like to apologize to give you this big question during the early morning talking about death. But let's bear in mind that is the reality of the situation. Okay, this is what we understand. We understand that if you do not have any heartbeat, so basically you are dead. So that is the common understanding of death. However, it may not be the case. So let us continue seeing this. What is actually death? Oops, let me continue that first. Okay, when we talk about cerebral cortex, that is the part of the brain that is the deepest in the brain. So it can still work without oxygen, but of course, certain period of time, it cannot stand by its own without the oxygen. You still need oxygen to make it work. However, that is the last part of the brain that will still functioning. So that's why if we can revive the patient within these 10 minutes, you can still have all the understanding, all the memories, all the knowledge that you have, provided it is not, the brain is still intact. But if you have some kind of damage, it may not be reversible. So that's why I said the most important part is actually when our heart stop beating, we are not dead yet. We will totally be dead if everything shut down, including the brain. So let us finish this video so that we can discuss more. So again, what I'm saying, I'm sorry to give you a very, very bizarre statement for the first early in the morning, okay, about death. But what I'm saying is that the last body part that will die is the brain. And before we die, we will have the flashback of whatever give us the most emotional impact to us. For example, for me, seeing cat may make me very, very, very happy. But it may not be the experience you feel. Maybe when you are young, the cat scratch you. So you hate to see cats. So of course, if that memory is give impact the most to you, that is what you see in your last working memory, I would say. So that's what I'm saying. Our experience of death is different. Sometimes we can see that people are smiling when they are dead. Maybe because the emotion that they feel at that time is peace. And some people we can see that they are very troubled when they die. So maybe the experience that they have before may not be as peaceful as they want it to be. So bottom line, let us pray so that our death will be easy for us, and we will see all the positive emotion when you are seeing the last part of the brain. So just a quick brain fact. So it is constantly active 24/7. It is like operating system in our computer. It's the kernel that it will run all the time as long as the computer is on. So it's also the same as us. As long as we alive, the brain will always working 24/7. And then it absorbs all the information, compact and rewires existing data, and integrate all the consistent experience, both yourself and your surrounding. Meaning that from whatever information that you get within yourself and the surrounding, it will be helping you to make a decision before and after. So how you get the information? From the eye, you will see things. From your ear, you will listen to my talk. From touch, whether it is hot or cold, depending on the weather, perhaps. And the taste, for example, if you are eating bakso, of course, it's different from you eating cake. The tastes are different, and it will be connoted with different memories, for example. So experience constitute reality. For example, brain shape how we see environment, filter and highlight the object and information most relevant to us. Let me just share with you my experience in Indonesia and Malaysia. So we typically listen to azan. So every prayers time, we will listen to azan. But this may not happen in United States because they do have azan, but it is not being blast loudly like what we have in Malaysia and uh, Surabaya. And because of that, okay, we have some kind of, time check. Okay, now it's already Zuhur. Now it's already Asar. Now it's already Maghrib and so on. And because of that, we tune our activities according to the time. But when I go out of the country, I may not have this kind of time check. So that's why in Malaysia, Surabaya, azan is a reality to us. But if you go out to Europe, for example, if you go out to United States, for example, these are not reality. But it will be ideal if we have, but they don't have that. So that's why it helps us in, making the decision. So it really go to our behavior. Behavior is basically driven with thought, emotion, desire, and experiences. For example, if you are, Surabaya is a little bit earlier than Malaysia. But then, because of that, because I can listen to azan, so basically I can actually manage my time better. But when I go out, because there is no azan, so I start to need to have some time check for me to actually do my things. So that's why I said different place have different reality, And all this information we store in our brain and it will derive our behavior. For example, as I said, the most easiest one is cat. I just love cat. So what happens if I see cat, I will go and approach the cat because I have a positive experience playing with the cat. But those who do not have positive experience playing with the cat, when they see cat, they will say that it's something harmful. So they try to avoid cat. Maybe because previously the cat is not being, friendly to them. Maybe the cat is sick. Maybe they are sick. They have asthma, for example. And all of these are actually telling us how to behave. And how to behave is being translated by behavior. And behavior is basically we get the information from the environment and how we can actually react to it. So a quick one, brain fun fact. So if you are trying to diet, be aware of this. The fattiest organ in human body is brain. So you need to have a little bit fat to make sure that your brain function well because 60% of human brain is made of fat. And then the brain capacity, we have approximately 86 billion neurons and they are interconnected to each other. And the interconnection is actually the one that transfer the information from one brain part to another. And then there is a myth actually for human brain that we only use 10%. That is totally wrong. We actually use the whole brain. Because if you say that you just use 10% of your brain, which part of the brain that is being used? Only this? No, we are using the whole part of the brain to actually do processing and to make sure that we are actually getting the information, process, and react to it. So this is another good fact. By the age of 25, the brain will be fully functioned. So the students here, I think it's very young. I think most of you maybe 19, 20 perhaps. I'm not sure. But you are still young. So there is still a lot of processing in the brain is going on. So make sure that you use your brain to the fullest. Because after you reach certain age, which is 25, your brain will stop form anymore. It's still function. I'm not saying that by the age of 25, your brain is not function. No, but it is not form anymore. There is no new construction anymore. So that's why you need to make sure that once you are young, fill it with a good information. And it begins from the back to the front. So that's why when you hold the baby, you hold the back of the head because that is very fragile. And we want to make sure that the brain are actually perform very well. And the transfer of the information from one neuron to another one is very fast. It's like 268 miles per hour. This is miles. Malaysia is using kilometer. So when I calculate, it's like 428 kilometer per hour. The fastest, just to share with you, the fastest I've been actually taking a car is 200 kilometer per hour. And yeah, wow, it just so fast. I just cannot talk anymore. It's just so fast. And that is in Autobahn, Germany. So in Germany, there is the highway is called Autobahn. You can actually speed up no matter how fast you want it to be. So that is in German, but very specific highway. It is called Autobahn. You can Google it and take a look at it. And the fastest that I've been in the car is 200 kilometer per hour. And it is already make me so afraid. Imagine now it's like 428.8 kilometer per hour. It's like double up and more. So that is how fast the brain is processing the data. And this is another important part. The body weight of us is 2%. 2% of our body weight is the brain. So basically, men have larger brain than women. So don't get upset. Yeah? I'm not sexist. I'm not saying that the men are more intelligent than women. No. the size doesn't really matter. It doesn't imply intelligence. But we are saying that because of 2% of the weight is basically the brain. So, and men are typically bigger than women structurally. Therefore, the brain of men is larger than women. So I'm not saying that those who are thin have small brain. Yes, based on the structure, but that doesn't mean that they are not smart. Because again, the size of the brain doesn't imply intelligence. So this is a simplified cerebral structure. This is how the brain is actually being structured. So we have frontal lobe. Frontal lobe is the one that we are making a lot of executive decision. And of course, we have a lot more other places. But again, in processing the data, all of our brain will be used. So because I am more interested in frontal lobe, this part, so these are the function of the frontal lobe. It can actually help us in motor skill. Motor skill is how you actually ride, how you walk, how you actually move. That is motor skill. And then understanding and reacting the feeling of others. Why? Because this is where you will have information from your eyes and ears, and then it is very vital for empathy because we can actually detect whether you are genuine or you are fake. And then we also have reward seeking behavior and motivation. When you are actually happy, there will be two hormone that is being segregated, that is serotonin and dopamine. So when you are happy, these two will be high. Serotonin and dopamine will be high. But when you are stressed, cortisol will kick in. And because we are trying to have a very positive balance of our life, we want to be happy, we want to be calm, we want to be content. So this is why we want to actually take care of the front part of the brain. It is also how to perform personality. Some people are introvert, some people are extrovert. Both have their own benefit. And again, the one that actually control is this part, the frontal part. And then it also actually covers speech and language production and managing attention, including selective attention. For example, if frontal lobe cannot be addressed appropriately for attention, so we may have problem like ADHD, attention deficit disorder. So all of this, all the different part of the brain plays a role. But for me and my research team, we are more interested in frontal lobe compared to the rest of the part of the brain. So this is a quick one, neural activation and electrical field. Basically that we have the nucleus, dendrite will talk to another dendrite, and then they are actually communicating and tell us the information. So let me have a very quick video to explain neuron firing.
I'm sorry, Prof. We cannot hear the sound. Excuse me, bro.
Okay. Saya dapat message sebenarnya, tak ada sound dia. How I'm going to actually share so that you can listen to the sound perhaps?
Klik with sound at the share screen. Itu ya Mas.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Let me, okay, share.
There is a small tick,
Is
small
it
check
more?
mark to be checked. Yeah, at the bottom of the share screen window.
Huh? Share, I cannot really see the. Where is the? Where can I actually where can I actually share? Okay, I am now screen sharing. Okay,
Yeah.
where can I actually share the voice so that you can listen to the voice?
When you start to share the screen, there will be a window, right?
Okay,
And
let me
on that
stop
window,
sharing.
yeah, stop share.
Okay, So let
And
me,
then
okay, screen. Okay, this
yeah,
one,
and
I'm
then there
sorry
is
about
share
that.
sound.
Okay, I should share sound at the bottom, is it?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's correct.
all right, I'm sorry about that. Okay, can I just share again so that you can listen to this?
Okay.
Let me know if you cannot hear that, yeah? Can
A
you hear that?
child's experiences during the
Yeah, we
earliest
can hear
years
it.
of life have a lasting impact on the architecture of the developing brain. Genes provide the basic blueprint, but experiences shape the process that determines whether a child's brain will provide a strong or weak foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. During this important period of brain development, billions of brain cells called neurons send electrical signals to communicate with each other. These connections form circuits that become the basic foundation of brain architecture. Circuits and connections proliferate at a rapid pace and are reinforced through repeated use. Our experiences and environment dictate which circuits and connections get more use. Connections that are used more grow stronger and more permanent. Meanwhile, connections that are used less fade away through a normal process called pruning.
Okay, this is important. If we use our brain more, it will strengthen the connection between the neuron. But if we don't use that neuron anymore, it will die. So what is actually happening is that things that impact you very highly will stay for us in a long-term memory. And those who doesn't really impact to us, we just put at the back of our mind and then we forget. So that is what happening in neuron activity.
Used circuits create lightning-fast pathways for neural signals to travel across regions of the brain. Simple circuits form first, providing a foundation for more complex circuits to build on later. Through this process, neurons form strong circuits and connections for emotions, motor skills, behavioral control, logic, language, and memory during the early critical period of development. With repeated use, these circuits become more efficient and connect to other areas of the brain more rapidly. While they originate in specific areas of the brain, the circuits are interconnected. You can't have one type of skill without the others to support it. Like building a house, everything is connected, and what comes first forms a foundation for all that comes later.
So basically, whatever comes first will be the foundation. So that's why students especially use your brain correctly. Don't, waste your brain signal thinking of things that are not necessary. Because otherwise, once you already form those information, those brain structure, it will be difficult to unlearn and relearn. So learn things correctly at the first time and things will be better. So this is where I'm trying to actually, all this information about brain, this is what I'm trying to actually show to you, that In the brain, we have neuron. Neuron will have the activity. The activity will trigger some electrical signal, not much, very, 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 very slow. And all these electrical signal can be measured. This is what I'm trying to derive your understanding. So we have a brain. Our brain is very complicated. We have a lot of neuron. All of these neurons are actually talking to each other. They will firing the information, and those information that is important will be used more. Those that is least used will be used less, and it will generate electrical impulse. So this is where we are going to use EEG, electroencephalogram. So of course, a single burst of neuron is very difficult to detect, but they are talking to each other a lot. And because of that, we can actually measure using head surface. This is the beauty of EEG. You don't have to poke your brain. You just put the electrode on your brain, on your head scalp, provided you don't have dandruff. Then we can actually measure your brain signal. So this is the electroencephalogram. So this one is very simple. It's just like a cap. You just put on that. This is the one that basically we are using it in University of Nevada, Reno. But it's very fragile. It's easily broken. If you are not handling it very well, you can actually crack into two. So when it crack into two, you cannot put some kind of sellotape, a band to actually cover it. No, it doesn't work anymore. You have to buy a new one. So that's the problem. Or you can use the electrode like this. You put the electrode and you put the plaster so that it stays in your head. Or you can use this or even a cap. So in our research, basically, I work a lot with International Islamic University of Malaysia. We are actually using cap like this. Why? Because it's very easy. You just put on your head, we put the gel and we put the electrode. And then we can actually measure your brain signal. So if you are trying to, later we will discuss, yeah? If you are trying to cheat or if you are trying to lie, we can detect that. Because there will be a different spike in the brain signal. So let us see. Okay, what is electroencephalogram? This is basically a device that can record electrical activity generated by the brain. So whatever signal that is electrical signal that generated by the brain, we can actually measure. You put the electrode on the scalp surface, on the scalp of your brain, because the brain have the neuron activity. It's firing the electrical signal, and this electrical signal can be measured. How we measure? We are using EEG. We put the electrode we put into the EEG, and then the computer we can see the signal. So this is the what we call it, the next research that is going to boom. Why? Because the data are pure. You cannot alter the data from the EEG, because no matter how good you are, we can actually tailor our speech. For example, when you are angry, you can actually control your anger. You don't just shout to people. You speak nicely. But of course, you are using a very sharp word. But you're angry. So that's why speech you can control. Facial expression, for example, you see people that you like the most. What you do is smile politely. But actually, what you want to do, you want to grab them, hug them, is it? But because of course, you cannot do that in front of the people, right? So maybe you have to be polite. So that's why behavior can be controlled. Facial expression can be controlled. Speech can be controlled. But brain signal cannot be controlled. We found this when we are doing research on porn addiction. The data we get is from madrasah in Jakarta, actually. We are actually getting the data from madrasah students, 11 of them, and then we are showing them images of fruits, yeah, some papayas, some pineapple, some bananas, and those with porn addiction will react, the brain will react differently than those who do not have porn addiction. Something that you cannot lie. Although they said to the psychologist they don't have the addiction, but the brain tells us otherwise. That is why I said EEG will be the next research, not only speech, not only facial expression. During my time, facial expression is the one that is hot. Now no more. Everybody can do facial expression. Now people are going to speech recognition. But again, speech recognition is already saturated. We can get 70 to 98% accuracy. So it's very difficult to beat 98% accuracy. Because whatever data that we put into machine learning is like garbage in, garbage out. It depending on the data. But now we are actually exploring new type of data, which is brain signal, where we get it from the EEG. So it provides excellent time resolution. So we can actually detect within a split second, we know exactly what is going to happen. So a voltage fluctuation measured in the electrode are very small. So we recorded the data is digitized. Why digitized? So that we can actually do the calculation faster. The data is sent to an amplifier so that it will be, stronger because the signal is very, very small. So later we will discuss different movement will disturb the signal. And then this amplified data can be used, then be displayed as sequence voltage of values. So why EEG? Of course, these are the important part. I'm trying to tell you that this will be the next research. So it has a very high time resolution. It's like high speed camera, like that. It will take the pictures and the pictures will be used to be analyzed. So that's why it can capture slight different in the brain. So that's why high time resolution, and it can capture cognitive process in the time frame in which cognition occur. For example, when you are looking at me and then you realize, I think I saw her before. So that cognition, it will be a spike in your brain signal. So that spike can be captured using EEG. And then it can directly measure neural activity. So if you are using different tools, different device, because if you want to actually measure how the blood flow from one part of the brain to another, it may not really reflect to what actually you thought. So that's why EEG can actually measure neural activity. For example, if you see the picture of snake, for example, it will actually, we are trying to elicit fear in you. But if you do have snake as a pet at home, some people have snake as pet, yeah? A small little snake. And some people say that snake are very cute. Not me. I'm just so afraid of snake. No matter how big or small or cute they are, no. So it will actually trigger different reaction. And this different reaction can be measured based on the brain signal. And then this is another reason. It is very portable, inexpensive. Okay, inexpensive in the sense if we compare to the other devices. Of course, it's expensive. I'm not saying it's inexpensive like you are buying, baju kurung for in TikTok, for example. It's not that cheap, but it is cheaper compared to the other devices. For example, like this MRI scanner is so big, like a donut size thingy, put it there, and you have to, I have experience using this. It's so, how to put it? Menakutkan. Okay, it's really fearsome. Okay, why? You cannot move. You have to be stagnant, and then you have to drink the color, and so that it will be shown in your body. So that's why it's not really a good experience actually going through the MRI scanner for my surgery. So EEG is cheap. You just put it on in your head. Okay, a little bit tedious because you have the gel, but you can shampoo them. You can sit. You can watch whatever stimuli given to you, and we can actually record your brain signal. That is as simple as that. And then it can monitor cognitive affective processing in absence of behavioral responses. For example, one of the research that we did is actually driver behavior. So driver behavior, we do not use EEG, but we use speech because it would be very difficult to collect driver behavior data using EEG because you move a lot. And when you move a lot, the data will be swayed. And when the data is not clean, it will be very difficult for us to have some kind of information. So that's why I said it's not really how to put it, well, if we are using EEG. So that's why it depends on what kind of research that we are doing. If we are doing about emotion, you need to have a very controlled environment. You cannot have a loud environment. It must be quiet because we don't want to actually you elicit different emotion. For example, we are trying to show you happy pictures or happy videos in hoping that it will make you happy, but you hear a lot of noises outside. What will happen? You will either get mad, two, you will be curious. You want to know, what actually happening? And that will actually disturb our research. And because of that, for emotion research, we are sitting in a controlled environment, and then we show you the what we call it, we show you the stimuli, and then we are showing you different stimuli for different emotion to see what will be the different in the brain signal. So another neuroimaging technique, we have magnetoencephalography. Again, it's so big like this, like a big bulky thing on the top of your head. But this one will give us deeper neural activity, better than EEG. EEG is only the surface, but they are very large, more expensive, and you need to have technical maintenance. So this is another reason why people, if you want accuracy, yes, go for an EEG. EEG accuracy is not bad, and it's even easier to handle, but depends how accurate you want your result to be. So you can also use fMRI, functional magnetic resonance imaging. It measures changes in blood flow. So if you can see all this red color here is basically where the blood is densely populated. A lot of blood is, moving over there. And it is basically increased neural firing requires oxygen. So oxygen will be carried by hemoglobin in the blood, and because of that, so this magnetic properties of oxygenated blood is being used. So that's why we can actually capture. So a distortion of magnetic field generated by protons. So it have an excellent spatial resolution. So what does that mean, excellent spatial resolution? It means that we know exactly which part of the brain. Okay, contohnya, example like this. This one is more blood compared, left side have more blood compared to the right side, for example. So what does that mean? So maybe there is some kind of activity more in the left side compared to the right side. But the problem is we do not have the time resolution. At what time the blood is more compared to, is it per second or is it 10 seconds? We do not know. So that one we only know using the EEG. EEG we know which time is actually being triggered. But using fMRI, we know which part is being activated. That is different. So we also have PET, positron emission tomography. So this is for metabolic activity, glucose metabolism of neuron using cognitive activity. This is more robust towards motion artifact. If you move, it doesn't really matter. But we do not have high time resolution of EEG recording. Now, this is what we see. So from the brain signal, it will go to the EEG signal. So this EEG signal is actually, we place the sensor on the scalp. It is introduced in 1920. So it's already 100 years by German neurologists. Very small. So we have the electrode. So if you can see here, the electrodes are the position of the place where we actually put. All right. Okay, then it is amplified by series of voltage values. So if you can see here, the raw data is what we see here. This is raw data. So raw data will be translated into delta, theta, alpha, beta, and gamma. So these are actually the information that we any question perhaps? Or is it you are opening your mic accidentally? No question? Okay, right. So these are the signals. Okay, the signals are basically based on different frequency. These are the frequency. And then we can actually detect different mental state. If your delta is high, you are in deep sleep. Drowsy when you are sleeping or tired. Alpha when you are relaxed, and beta when your focus is there. So how the data, the clean EEG is being collected? We are using electrode. It's either wet or dry. Wet, we put the gel, put it in your scalp. So we are trying to make sure that limited impedance, so that it have a very good connection to the scalp. If we always advise our subject, our participant, to clean up their hair first. Go and shampoo your head so that no dandruff, so we have a better contact. Or we can also use dry electrode, no gel, but the contact is not as good as the dry or wet electrode. That's the difference. Because the signal are very small, we are trying to get it there and there. So this is how it works. So nation is here. So you can see this part is basically the nose. Indian, try to hold at the back of your head. There's a bone at the back of your head. So that is actually Indian. So how to know the center of your head, tip of your nose, and that particular bone? Calculate, divide by 2. That is basically your CZ center. And then we have your ear lobe and another ear lobe. Calculate. So that is exactly the CZ location. So why CZ is important? Because we have different size of head. So that's why if we can actually measure, it will be very suitable to you. Okay, very individualistic. So optimal placement, find the zigzag, as I said, from the tip of the nose to the bone at the back of your head. We measure, divide by 2. Then from your A1 and A2, you measure and divide by 2. That is basically your zigzag. Zigzag is in the middle. So again, this is just to show you the frontal lobe. Okay, that is the most important part that we are interested. And then other brain part as well. But for my research and team, we are very interested in frontal lobe compared to the rest. So this is artifact. This is what I'm saying. We have a muscle activity. So if you can see here, this one is the artifact. So this is movement actually, because the signal are just too small. If you have like, sometimes your cheek move automatically, yeah. So this will actually disturb the signal as well. Eye movement, you are moving your eye from the left to the right, from top down. So movement of the eye also will affect the data. So that's why I say using EEG is very sensitive, but the data is accurate, you cannot lie. Blink, of course, you move your eye, it will take the muscle in your eyes to actually move. So again, this cannot be used because if you use means the data are actually not really clean. Movement of electrode or headset, sometimes it moves because of, remember I told you the gel, sometimes the gel just slide. That's why only F3 is actually showing us the movement, but the rest is okay, which means that F3 is moving compared to the rest. And then external sources, for example, like line noise, it is 60 Hz in the US and 50 Hz in the European United. So this is the example. It's supposed to be something like this. So of course, we are actually trying to eliminate all these artifacts to get the data. And of course, you cannot swinging, the data will just go all haywire. So when we are doing data collection, the participant should sit in a very comfortable manner. We will ask them to close their eyes and then to open their eyes before showing any stimuli. Why? Because we want to know their pre-experiment state. Then we show them the stimuli. Then after we show them the stimuli, we ask them to eyes closed and eyes open again so that we know after the experiment what is the difference. So this is a very quick one. This is what the EEG is telling us. Recommended if not sensitive to precise timing, basically for mental, affective or cognitive state study. Just to share with you, one of the research that we are doing, we are actually giving the participant listen to a song that if you have happy song plus sad song, we merge them. What should you feel? Should you feel happy or should you feel sad? Or if we add happy plus happy, will you feel happy or will you feel angry, for example? So those are actually work that I'm conducting with Nevada. So that is still ongoing. And then we also have research with IIUM, International Islamic University of Malaysia. We can actually detect autism, for example, porn addiction, stress. Stress, we have eustress and distress. Eustress is stress that is positive. It gives you motivation. For example, when you are going to have an exam, it can be eustress. It make you want to study, but it will be distress if your result is not good. So that is the different, what we call it, the different stress. And then basically we have a relaxation level. This is alpha band in occipital region is higher when eyes are closed, or index of engagement and motivation based on this. Larger left frontal band power is joy, larger right frontal band power is sad. So what I'm saying is the same process as any machine learning. We have the data. From the data, we will do data processing. From the data processing, we will clean the data, make sure that the data are clean. Then we will do feature extraction. Typically, we are using MFCC. And then from feature extraction, we are using classification. But as I said, now we are having deep learning. Some of the feature extraction can be automatically extracted. So we have different way of doing things now. So this is another perception of emotion. So we have the environment information. From the environment information, we have visual, auditory, haptic, olfactory, and gustatory. So basically what you eat, what you listen, what you see will give the impact to you. So in emotion, we understand that it can give you valence, the impact of emotion, whether it's positive or negative. It gives you arousal, the state that you are in, whether you are active or passive, or dominance, how strong the emotion lasting on you. Is it small or it is big impact? So those are actually how we actually measure the emotion. So from here, we will have attention, emotion, and mood. It will basically go into our working memory. So our working memory, we can actually recognize, then we reason out. Then based on that, we will do problem solving and decision making. And if it gives impact more to us, we will store it in our long-term memory. But otherwise, we'll just discard it. And of course, from whatever that we store in our memory, that will be translated into behavior. Okay, that will be translated into behavior. That's why we have a lot of behavioral study based on emotion. So this is another proposed methodology by my friend in Nanyang. So we do some kind of pre-processing, feature extraction. So we have a data set. And then this is how the data are being collected before. Okay, and then basically we do some kind of feature extraction and of course classification. It's the same as any machine learning. Data collection, feature extraction, data collection, data pre-processing, feature extraction, and classification. So this is done by my student, my master student. Basically, we are trying to measure dysphoria. Dysphoria is the state of how bad do you feel? You don't feel so bad, but you are not depressed yet. You are not depressed yet. You just don't feel good about things. So that is basically dysphoria, a negative feeling. So basically, it's the same thing. We do data collection, we do the pre-processing, and then we do feature extraction, and then we classify. But he is also studying from the questionnaire point of view, from the psychologist. So from these two information, we do the correlation study. So this is him doing the data collection. Okay, and he's using CAP and the electrogel. But this is quite recent. So basically what you see, the one that you see is the actual data collection. So the participant will sit in, how we put it, in a very calm room, no noise, no disruption. And then it will actually give you the information. So what you see here is the electrode and the brain signal. Okay, let's see this. So if you can see here, this is my student, older than me, younger than me for sure. And then these are the 16 channel that we use. You can see that the green means the impedance is low, so that the data is good. But you can also see the yellow part. The yellow part means the connection is not that good yet. So we need to make sure that all are green before we will do the data collection. So it's a lot of hard work, yeah, to make sure that the data are good, because otherwise in any machine learning system, garbage in, garbage out. If you do not have a good data, you will have not a good result as well. So this is how we work. So you can see it's moving very fast because the brain is moving and he is sitting at the back. Okay, this is when he's closing his eyes. So even when he closes his eyes, you can see that the data are moving very fast. Okay, so this is what we collect. So the data is already digitized. And then you can see, okay, let me show you how we put the electrode to him.
If you not feel uncomfortable, if you feel free, just let me know.
Okay.
Are you afraid?
I'm free.
Yeah. Are you afraid? No? Not afraid?
Okay, everything okay.
Oh, everything is okay? Then you can send this to your wife, saying that we bully you, bully.
Oh, buat dia kat ni.
China.
Anak dia anak.
Tak ada. He is 33 years old. And his father is 65 years old. Both parents are medical doctor. Yeah.
So you can see that we put the cap, and then in the yellow circle there is actually a hole. So we will clear up that part, and then we will insert the gel, and then we put the electrode. This is where we want the connection to be strong, so that we can get the signal. And then you can see that the student is actually putting some kind of, thing to the ear that is to measure the ground. And then this is how it works. So he is sitting over here. Okay, this is all the electrode. This is the EEG, and he is actually looking at this is the EEG. Okay, let me show you. So he is actually watching some sort of, how to show you? This one. Some sort of stimuli to trigger the different emotion. Okay, why we want to know emotion? Later we can discuss about that. So that is basically the end of my presentation. So, but I want to address why we need to study about emotion. Because we are human. We cannot run from emotion. And we can actually personalize results based on us. For example, one of the research that we are doing now is that we are trying to see how color can influence our mood. How we do this? Of course, we are using EEG just to see how well or how bad the color can actually improve or make it worse of the day. I think I'm giving you some space if you do have any question. With that, I thank you. So if you do have any question, please, and I can be contacted using this email. Thank you very much. Again to you, MC.
Thank you so much, Dr. Linda, for the amazing lecture about effective computing and some insight about how do we collect data from our brain. And as I promised before, the Q&A session is now open to all participants who want to ask some question. You can raise your hand via Zoom or just send your question to the chat and I'll read it for you.
Okay, no question perhaps.
Okay, there's one. Okay, there's Hansen Dava. Hansen Dava, please open your mic and ask your question directly to Dr. Linda. Time and place is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity, MC, and thank you for the information and also the slides. It is really insightful for me, Professor. The thing that I want to ask, there's a lot of technology that you present before, like EEG or lots of things to really know about what our emotion really talk to us and lots of things about it. What I want to ask is sometimes we find that kind of technology in a medical way when we want to know what our patient wants to feel, what our patient really feel at that periodic of time. But what I want to ask is the technology applicable in today's society or today's world? Like when you want to in a recruitment process for a job or something like that, is it already applicable? And if it's not applicable, why it is not applicable at this rate of time? Thank you. Is it clear?
All right, clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, a very good question then. So, how can I call you? Hansen? Handsome? Or what?
Hansen.
Hansen. All right. Right. Thank you, Hansen. I think it's very important to actually recognize whether it is already being used or not. Actually, we are using this more on the medical side, not really on the outside, because the EEG data is very sensitive. So it's not like speech. You can record using microphone or video, right? Or even facial expression, you can actually take some pictures. So it's quite easy to get. But for EEG, because the data are very sensitive, you cannot even blink. Can you imagine? You cannot even blink. You cannot move your muscle. You have to be like that. Okay, of course, without the hand, yeah, without the hand. But you have to be like no eye blinking, no eye movement, nothing. Because we just want to get from the brain. But sooner or later, I'm sure this will be used a lot. For example, have you heard about lie detector? The device that actually detect whether you are lying or not. So sooner or later, we'll be using EEG because that one they put the lie detector, put your hand, right? Put your hand, and then you will feel some kind of like that whether you are lying or not, right? I saw that in Running Man actually. So when they put that, so you know what happens is that sooner or later, because if you can control your heartbeat, you can master lie detector. I've seen it in Running Man. Kwang Soo is actually the culprit that actually do a lot more things. That is funny. So if you can control your heartbeat, you can control the lying detector, the lie detector. However, brain signal is very sensitive. Of course, now the price is still expensive, but sooner or later, the technology will catch up with us. It will become cheaper and cheaper. And sooner or later, I'm sure they will be used, but there is a problem with that. Can you imagine? There are things that you don't want people to know sometimes. So by having this, imagine like this. Imagine you are sitting for an exam and then they put EEG on you and then they know whether you know or not. Can you imagine that? That is crazy, I would say. I don't want that too. Because sometimes I like to pretend that I know all, right? Macam in Malaysia, we call it palatau, right? Macam, well, I know, but actually I do not know. And sometimes we want to have that kind of information not being told to everyone. So to answer your question, Hansen, sooner or later, yes, it will be used because the data are pure. We cannot, how to put it? We cannot lie using the EEG. That's why we detect those in Jakarta. I cannot remember the madrasah. Maybe I shouldn't mention about it. But we can detect whether the student will have porn addiction or not. So it is good that we can treat them. But porn addiction is not something that we can be proud about, right? So it is embarrassing. But if we do not help them now, it may be something bad. So the objective is to help, not to embarrass people. So to answer your question, sooner or later, yes, especially for lie detection. Thank you very much for the question. I hope it answer your question.
Thank you for the amazing answer, Professor.
Right.
Okay, thank you for Hansen for the question. And let's go to the next question. Is there anyone who want to ask a question to Dr. Linda about the lecture today?
Okay, Dr. Linda, I will ask you about the pre-processing part. Yeah. How to segment of 16 signals of EEG, and then what the phenomenon of each signal. Is there a periodic signal, like maybe systolic period or diastolic period at heart sound signal? And how you can analyze of each of 16 signal? Okay, thank you, doctor.
Okay. I know Pak Hendra is an expert in the ECG. So he is doing a lot of work on the ECG on the heart, yeah. So actually ECG and EEG is not much different. The only difference would be one, ECG is more strong, the signal is more stronger compared to the EEG. And then ECG have systolic and dystolic because the loop of the blood going to the heart. That's why it will give you the systolic and dystolic. But for EEG, we do not have that. The data is continuous, consistently continuous. And then we do not want to separate the 16 signals, the 16 channels. We are using it all because brain doesn't work in one channel only. It doesn't work in one electrode only. It is working all together at the same time. So that's why we cannot just use, okay, I just want to use PZ, P3 and P4 only. No, we have to use it all. And because of that, it will give us better understanding of the brain. Because, but of course, different brain have different function and different frequency have different function as well. As I shown you that alpha and beta is more relevant to us because we want to know whether you are alert or you are not alert. So to answer Pak Hendra's question, how we do pre-processing, of course, from each of the channel, we do the pre-processing individually and then we combine. And let's say we can see that there is a blinking over there, we cut off that chunk out to make sure that the data are clean. Because if one channel are disrupted, the whole channel cannot be used. So that's why I said it's not that, of course, the way I say it is like very simple. You just gather data, do data cleaning, pre-processing, feature extraction, classification. But of course, to collect the data itself, to select which data can be used, which data cannot be used, whether the data makes sense or not, or the data should be retake again. And some of people, the stimuli that we are given them is not strong enough to elicit emotion. So these are all the information that we need to consider. And of course, that's why like the answer I give to Hanson just now, it is easily said than done because to collect data, especially we are working a lot with autism children. So there is, just to share with you, there's one occasion that we put the gel on the child, 5 years old, I think. She just screamed and she said it's so cold because they are very sensitive. Actually, it's not cold at all. It's just a simple gel just put on the scalp. That is how we feel. But for the kids, she is just screaming and saying that it's just so cold, she don't want. So that's why I said, for normal, for people who can understand, it will be very easy. I mean, you know that you have to stay calm. You have to actually trying to rouse the emotion. But even if you are not feeling well, for example, if you are taking medication, or if you just finish fighting with your wife, for example, you are not advised to do the EEG test because it will disrupt the data. So I hope that answer your question, Pak Hendra.
Okay, thank you. The next question.
Ya, silakan.
How to combine the result of the signal with the images of the recording of data.
Okay. I get your question. Because whenever you see the image, that is the time period that we associate with the EEG signal. For example, when you see, there are 4 emotions that we are looking at. Fear, they show you the image of snake, if I'm not mistaken. Sad, they show you people who are crying. Happy, some kind of nice scenery. And then what else? Fear is war, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Wait. Calm. Another one is calm. Calm is they are showing people who are actually very serene. So to answer your question, how we are going to actually correlate between the signal that we take and the image that we show them. The image, we get it from a standard data set. That standard data set is being used by a lot of researchers to elicit the emotion. So we are using that, and it is already being, what we call it, validated by the psychologists that it can elicit emotion. But of course, different human have different reaction to the picture. Yes, that one we agree. But that is the only way that we can have standard data set to show. That's number one. And then culture also plays a different role. For example, Malaysia, Indonesia, we do not experience war at all, I would say. I mean, previously, dulu perhaps, but now the younger generation, the only war they have is whose rendang is better, my rendang, Malaysian rendang or Indonesian rendang. So it's not really war to say. So saying that, the time that the image is shown is being correlated to the signal that we get. That is how we actually measure. So for example, like when we are showing you fear image, by right, we assuming that your brain react immediately to that particular image. So at that point of time, you are also feeling fear. So that is what we are doing. We correlate directly. You see fear, so your brain signal is fear. You see happiness, so your brain signal is happiness. So that is how we do it. But the signal or the stimuli is actually from the standard data set. It's not ours. We are using the standard data set so that everybody agree that yes, this kind of image can elicit happiness. This kind of image can elicit fear. Because EEG, we can get immediate effect of how the brain works. We don't have to wait. You see, it always reflect, just like that. That's basically the answer, Pak Hendra.
Okay, thank you so much of your answer, Doctor.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Indra, for the question. And okay, probably this is the last question. If not, I'm gonna ask to Dr. Linda myself. Okay. So, Dr. Linda, I have a question. I'm actually interested with the EEG. And just before Pak Indra asked the question, I thought about the people that have brain damage or some previous brain issues from accident or stroke or some kind of that. Can EEG detect those kind of brain issue or brain damage that have been occurred before? And have EEG been tested to detect the different reaction of people when observing some phenomenon or some videos about someone happy, someone sad, or something like that with the brain injuries that have been occurred or happened? And is there any difference? And if there's a difference, what kind of difference that can be shown from the EEG graph? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chris, is it? Okay. So Chris, thank you very much for that question. So yes, there is a lot of research on brain damage actually, but not for me because to get that kind of access to the patient is quite difficult for us. So what we have is basically the consent from the parents who have ADHD, autism, and dyslexia. That is people that we work on, and then the students we are studying about stress. But I never actually really work myself with the people with brain damage. But to answer your question, yes, there's a lot of research on that because we want to know whether people with brain damage will have different emotion impact. For example, if you do lose your frontal part during accident, especially, you do not have if you have time, go and read Bechara, BECHARA test. So they are actually playing card, card teruk tu playing card, and those with brain damage, they don't care making mistake. People who do not have brain damage, they are worried to making mistake, so they play with a very cautious move, and if they win, they feel happy. But for those with brain damage, they don't care, they just play. So that's the difference. And then people without the brain damage will have elevated happiness, but people with brain damage will have stagnant emotion. So that's why I'm not sure, have you watched movies in Netflix, for example, Daimler? So they are saying that there is something wrong in the brain, making him do not have any empathy at all. So sometimes people who are psycho, it's not because they are just psycho as is, but because of the brain is not really functioning as it's supposed to be. So if the connection are not good, of course, it can be shown in EEG, but EEG is very good for things that can be responded immediately. But your question just now, can we detect whether the individual have brain damage or not? That one should be seen using other devices like fMRI, for example, to see whether the blood going to the brain. If there is no blood going to that particular brain, something is not quite right. But for EEG, it's more on the response, the electrical response. For example, if you see war in Israel, Palestine, for example, what would you feel? So that is more on the EEG study compared to, we want to see which part that is activated and which part that is not. I hope that answer your question. That answer the actual question that you asked from my understanding, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you. It's really answering my question. Okay, I think there is no one wanna ask more question, and I think that's enough for the question and answer session for today's lecture. And once again, thank you very much for Dr. Linda for the amazing lectures. And as I promised you before, we're gonna go to the photo session. So everyone, please open your camera and show your best smile. And don't forget to use the virtual background that have been provided by the community. We're gonna wait for you until 10:20, bro. 2 more minutes to open your camera and set up your virtual background.
Okay, I will quiet the photo session. I start with the first slide in one, two, three. Again in one, two, three. The second slide in one, two, three. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the photo session, and thank you for everyone who have opened camera and used the virtual background that has been shared by the committee. And now we have reached the end of this lecture today. All the participants must fill the form that will be provided via the Zoom chat by the committee to get the e-certificate. And after filling the present forms, and that is for the guest lecture 2023 today. Special thank you for our speaker, Dr. Linda, that have given an amazing lecture for this class today. And see you on the next guest lecture 2023.